It's time for Fight News Now Extra. I'm your host, John Pollock, with John Ramdeen and Robin Black joining me to discuss all of today's headlines, including an update on a forgotten welterweight in Mike Pierce, Stipe Miocic eyeing a run for the title in 2015, and a near-death experience for a top UFC fighter. Fabricio Verdum and his camp nearly didn't make it out of Mexico following a carbon monoxide poisoning. Verdum and his team, which included Rafael Cordero and Renato Babalu Sobral, were staying in Mexico at a home they had rented, which they said was freezing, and ended up buying a gas generator for the home and placed it inside. Members of the camp then woke up to dizziness in the middle of the night, turning the generator off, and then proceeded to go to the hospital where they were vomiting. It was terrible, and medical personnel then informed them that they would have died from carbon monoxide poisoning if they had not turned this generator off. What a story. Stipe Miocic will return to the octagon on December the 13th in Phoenix for the biggest fight of his career as he meets former champion Junior Dos Santos. Miocic has won his last 3 fights, with the lone blemish on his record from a loss to Stefan Struve, as he prepares for Dos Santos and is being very vocal, stating that a win over JDS should put him in line for the winner of Cain Velasquez and Fabricio Verdum sometime next year. It's been more than a year since we have seen welterweight Mike Pierce inside of the octagon following a loss to Rousimar Palhares, where Palhares held on to a heel hook too long and was subsequently released by the promotion for his actions. Pierce was fearful he would need surgery following the heel hook, but escaped going under the knife. However, it would be a broken hand during the next few months, which would sideline him from a potential bout with Damian Maia and keep him out for a full 12 months. Pierce now tells MMA Junkie Radio that he is ready to return into the deep welterweight waters. And we finish off with a look at Damasio Page's knockout of Brian Hall this past weekend at the Legacy FC 36 card, as Page became the promotion's flyweight champion and producing a Knockout of the Year candidate along the way. And we are here with Robin Black and John Ramdeen. Lots to discuss. I don't have much to share about Fabricio Verdum nearly dying from carbon monoxide poisoning. This sounds crazy. It sounds like some Mexican horror film that they're probably going to write a screenplay out of.
No doubt.
I feel terrible. It's horrifying and spooky, man. You're just sleeping, and all of a sudden you wake up and you.
He's laughing about it. He's like,
That's
oh,
Should have a carbon monoxide detector.
It does say a lot about what kind of dude he is if he is laughing about it, and that's a good thing. I mean, how you deal with adversity in life is really up to your perspective. This guy's perspective is this is funny, so he'll be able to
And
get
now
past it.
all of you at home know that if you have a home, don't put a gas generator inside and turn it on overnight. Now you've lesson learned.
Lesson learned.
Let's move on. It was a pretty quiet weekend, at least for national promotions. We had Bellator on Friday night, which featured really the main event of the night.
Wow.
John McCarthy versus Josh Neer.
And that's what he says.
Josh Neer was livid at the end of this, that there weren't any stand-ups in this fight, that Paul Bradley just controlled him for 3 rounds. And I'm sorry, I go to the side of John McCarthy. I mean, your job is to get up. It's like, this is mixed martial arts. And I hate this argument that, you know, it's the referee's job to put you in a better, advantageous position. I mean, Paul Bradley worked. He got that position. Get up. I thought Paul Bradley won all 3 rounds.
I agree, but I think when you look at mixed martial arts kind of globally, that nobody's on the same page. You're seeing inconsistency, and I think that's what frustrates a lot of fighters. It's like, well, this referee stands us up, but this guy doesn't. So when the playing field is so lopsided like that, it's hard to understand. And Josh Neer's a guy that wants to scrap it out. So he's not down. I mean, this guy comes from the old Miletich mindset where we're here to put on a show, to hurt people, and to have people lay on. Like, Matt Hughes never did that.
But if you are facing a guy who likes to scrap it out, best way to beat him is to slow it down and hold him down there, control him. This is how you win fights. John McCarthy's really an amazing ref. He's an amazing guy. He's dedicated his life to improving refereeing and judging. He teaches courses on all that stuff. I think he did the right thing. There's also sort of that element of gaming the system. It's like, are you trying to just hold this guy on purpose in hopes of me standing you guys up? If so, that's not a strategy. Your strategy really should be get up, not try to do nothing. You can create activity by making space and fighting that way, and he couldn't. But I don't know if John needed to say, hey, this ain't kickboxing, but I do agree with him.
You bring up the inconsistencies, and that's something that we do see from different officials. And I mean, how many times have we watched fights where there are numerous fence grabs and you hear warnings, and it's like they're so worried to take that point away because a point deduction in a 3-round fight is detrimental at points. So,
so you get a
you
free
don't know
fence
what
grab.
you can get away with. And if you're going into a fight knowing, hey, I've got 2 low blows before I'm going to lose a point, and I've got up team
You get
fence
2
grabs.
low blows and a couple of fence grabs for sure.
definitely
Well, listen, most fighters, I mean,
true.
if they're
It's
thinking,
true.
hey, what can I get away with in this particular
I don't
fight?
know if it's conscious going in that saying, hey, okay, I just got to remember I got to keep these in my back pocket. If things aren't going my way, hit him a couple of times in the cup. I know I'm just going to get warned. And if he's trying to take me down, just reads his instinct.
Hey, we're going to watch Jose Aldo and Chad Mendes on Saturday where a fence grab could completely have changed that first fight around. I mean, that's something, it wasn't called on. Aldo wasn't able to be taken down. That's a very different fight if Chad Mendes gets that takedown.
It is somewhat instinctive. I mean, something bad is going to happen. I got to hold on to this thing. And usually when I hold on to this thing, not only does the bad thing not happen, but they don't penalize me for it anyway. So I think it makes sense. I mean, you should grab the fence if it's something you can get away with. So that has to be changed. They have to make it so that that thing's hot. You grab it, you're...
Well, especially because, you know, the officials say, we went over everything in the back room. Well, that should be this included, that if you grab the fence, this is your warning. Right now, backstage is your warning. You grab the fence, point is being taken. It's in your hands.
Ultimately, it just has to be consistent.
Yes.
Houston Alexander, you got 2 headbutts in on that. That fight was... My God, why that fight happened. Quickly, though, Robin, you did see some live fights. Quickly get your thoughts on this past weekend in London.
Jesse Ronson is from the Adrenaline Training Center in London, and he had 3 fights in the UFC, and he admits that he couldn't pull the trigger in those 3 third rounds, and he lost split decisions in all of them. He went in and he explored the mental game, and he explored a sports psychologist. He came out there, he swaggered out into that place, and Dom O'Grady, former King of the Cage champion, he assassinated that man. He looked spectacular, like unbelievable, terrifyingly spectacular. If that Jesse Ronson goes to the UFC, he's beaten a lot of dudes. I want to see him fight Darren Cruikshank.
All right, there you go. That was Robin Black's live report. Lots of UFC 179 coverage coming up this week, but right now we have Fight News Now Extra coming your way.